to the Hungry Vegan channel. My name is Jade. Today I want to talk to you about eating addictions. Now, eating addictions is something I hear about so often. I have been a health coach for 6 years and I've dealt with many people with many different eating addictions and including my own. I have an addictive personality, so what comes with an addictive personality? Food addiction. Absolutely. Now, I've given up many things over the years. I've given up drugs, I've given up alcohol, I've given up smoking. The hardest thing is food. Why is food harder than anything else? Because we've still got to eat. If you're a drug addict, you can avoid places. If you're an alcoholic, you can avoid places, but you cannot avoid food because that's something that we need to do in order to sustain life. And there's many levels of food addiction. Quite often people say to me, I have a food addiction, but then there's people with food addictions. For me, I had a heavy food addiction. I was a binge eater. I was highly addicted to junk food. I was highly addicted to sugar. I was highly addicted to chips, crisps. Highly addicted to that. Coca-Cola, all that kind of food. Sugar is highly addictive anyway. Now, when I say sugar, I'm not talking about fructose, which is in fruit. I'm talking about refined sugar. What sugar actually does is trigger off those same pleasure centers in the brain, just like cocaine. So coming off sugar, if that's where you're at this point in time, is as hardcore as coming off hardcore drugs. So it's similar. We get similar things with salt and fat. They are the three most highly addictive foods. And a lot of people who have food addictions, generally when you're having cravings for food, you're generally looking for things with fat and sugar and salt and all those kind of foods that aren't healthy for us and aren't going to do wonders for our body, and that's what you're looking for. I know for myself personally, I used to be a binger and a massive binger. So for me, the first step I took when I was trying to change my life, now at this stage I'd lost my weight, but I was still having triggers of binge eating. Now, the first reason I would have been having those triggers of binge eating was because I was on a 1200 calorie diet. So I was hungry. I was very, very hungry. But after that, what I used to do is I'd keep a food diary, and in my food diary I would write everything that I ate, and I'd also write any reactions I've had during the day. So let's just say I had a packet of chips or something like that during the day, and that triggered me to all of a sudden have Pac-Man disease, eat everything inside. I would say, there's something I've just learned. Potato chips and me don't work. Now, back then, I didn't have the knowledge that I have now on nutrition. I mean, it's easy for me to say, it's the chips. Of course, they're covered in trans fats and salts and probably some sugar. Of course, that's going to trigger you to want to binge eat. But I didn't see that then. If you're really new coming into this lifestyle, and I know some people are, and they're trying to make themselves 100% raw, but in the meantime they keep falling back to junk food, and that is something I'm hearing quite a bit. My personal advice would be, one, to make sure you're eating enough, but two, look at the foods that you're actually eating and work out when you're eating some form of cooked food and work out what's triggering that addiction. I think the best thing for people to do if they do have a food addiction and they're trying to overcome it, and I think for some people they think, okay, I get it, I'll go to raw, but you're moving straight into something and you're coming from that addictive personality and that addictive behavior, and you're probably still eating a lot of refined foods, so that addiction's still there. You see, for me, before I came in to be a raw vegan, I have gone through all the transformation. I think it was about 5 years ago when I made a decision, that's it, I'm not having processed foods anymore. So I've already gone through all those different phases, and I believe for anybody, nothing should be so rigid, because if you are so rigid and you say, that's it, tomorrow I'm going 100% raw, the chances are in 2 days' time you're going to be sitting down eating those same crisps that you've always been eating, or dips and whatever it is, whatever's your thing, that's what you'll be doing. So you're far better off saying, okay, where's my problem here? What is my addiction? Because your addiction is not going to be fruit or vegetables, because nobody stands up one day and says, you know what, I've got such an addiction, I just can't eat enough Brussels sprouts. That doesn't happen. So your addiction has to be to refined foods. And sometimes it might not always, when I say refined foods, that could be white rice or white pasta and things like that too, because ultimately if you're eating a whole foods diet, you should be eating whole foods, which would be brown rice, brown pasta, etc., and you don't get those triggers. And I know there are people in the vegan movement who push that as healthy and blah blah blah, but ultimately if you're dealing with food cravings, that's why I know, look, you give me a bowl of white rice, I love white rice, don't get me wrong, I don't eat it, I haven't eaten it now in over 7 months, but I love it. And I know if I had a bowl of rice, I'm going to eat another one and another one, because it is still refined and it's addictive. It becomes addictive. And so, and you know, there hits a point where you can't eat as much as you think or have been told that you can eat, because ultimately you're going to put on weight. So you've really got to look at the food that you're actually consuming and slowly but surely start weaning out the rubbish from your diet and start bringing in more and more healthy foods. If you are on this path where you're wanting to be a raw vegan, then start replacing it and adding more and more raw food to your diet. If you still need that little bit of cooked food, I'd much rather you have a steamed potato or a steamed sweet potato and a heap of raw food, rather than saying, you know what, I'm going to be 100% raw and then 2 days later go back to eating junk food. Because the bottom line is, if you've got an eating addiction, you really need to wean those bad foods out of your diet. And until you get those high salt, high sugar, high fat foods out of your diet, you're going to continue to have this eating addiction. Now, there's other reasons as well we have these eating addictions. It's not just the physical side that we're addicted to. Sometimes it's mental. Now, you may be a person that eats your feelings. If you eat your feelings and your thing is when you're upset or you're sad is to sit there and eat a tub of ice cream or a packet of chips or have a burger or whatever it is that's your thing, that is something that's been a habit, and it's something that you do as a comfort. So they're different things to look at too, and perfect to put in your food diary. You know, oh, look, today I went off track. I ended up having a burger. I had a fight with my husband or my mum or my daughter or whatever, and I was so upset I went and made myself a burger, whatever. And then you say, hang on, and if in a couple of days' time, oh, I was so angry and I was so upset I had a packet of chips, then you're going to start saying, you know what, maybe part of my addiction is this. Another thing that people have is habits. So perhaps every night, maybe you put your kids to bed, or your hubby and you sit down in the lounge, or after you finish your homework, whatever your age group, whatever it is, you know, that you do, you sit down on the couch and you might have crackers and hummus. I saw that written today. And that's your thing. That's what you like doing. Or you might have a sandwich or a piece of toast or whatever. And that's just a habit that you've done over time. And it's something that you're finding extremely hard to break. Of course you're going to find it extremely hard to break. If you have been doing the same thing over and over and over for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, yes, it is hard to break. But this is where you set yourself up and say, you know what? I know that I'm doing this all the time. How can I fix it? Now, you don't have to turn around and say, well, you know what? I'm just not going to eat anything now, because that's the mentality that we end up putting ourselves on. And so you're sitting there and you're feeling angry, you're feeling resentful, and you're starting to think, you know what? I don't like this lifestyle because I'm not happy with my eating arrangements. So instead of that, make yourself up a raw hummus. If you check out my Instagram, I've got a raw hummus on there. Or make yourself a, whatever it is, you know, cut yourself up some fruit, cut yourself up some carrot and celery sticks or whatever. Make yourself some raw crackers and have your raw dip all ready. So you say, you know what, this is amazing. I'm really happy. Nothing's really changed in my life. I'm still having my little raw crackers. I'm still sitting here with my little dip, and I'm now starting to change over to this lifestyle. And bit by bit, you start making these different changes into your lifestyle where you start saying, you know what, I'm overcoming these addictions. So that is another reason why we have these addictions that may not necessarily be an addiction. They may be something that's habitual and that you just need to wean out of your life. Now, I've got some other things. Sorry if I'm just reading some notes because I don't always remember everything. Okay, sometimes we can be tempted by certain places that we go to. So let's just say that your friend said to you, look, do me a favour, can you call into such and such bakery and grab me a loaf of bread there? I only like the bread there on the way through. And then all of a sudden you get a smell of something and it might put you in a familiar place. All of a sudden that smell might be, oh, that smells like Mum's kitchen used to, or you know what, that bakery smell, I really like that. Or it might be an Italian restaurant. You might be walking into your nana's house and you're actually literally smelling something that you love. That can trigger those food addictions too. You say, oh my God, I've always loved that pasta and that sauce or this or that. So that can trigger those addictions too. Write it in your diary. You know what, today I was so tempted, blah, 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 happened. Maybe this is an issue for me. How can I work around it for the next time I go in there because I felt like I was going to buy every single pie in the shop, whatever. And so maybe next time you have to go in there, you say, you know what, this was a bit of an issue for me last time. I'm going to cut up some food. I'm going to have, I don't know, a bowl of grapes there. I know you don't cut grapes, you pull them. I'm going to have some cut up apple or whatever. So when I come back into my car after picking up the bread, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, I can't handle this. You'll be like, oh my goodness, okay. And you know what, son, once you start eating the beautiful fruit, you're going to say, oh, wow, I feel good because all that dopamine's going to come into your brain and you're going to be like, oh, I'm on a fruit high. So it's really thinking ahead for those trigger places. If you find that there are things that are going to trigger you anyway, always have emergency bananas in your bag. You can't go wrong without having a banana in your bag. They have tied me over that many times that I've gone, okay, I can deal with this. I'm cool. I've had a banana. So that's another thing too. Okay. What else? Oh, I did the don't go. Control your environment. Now this is something really important, to control your environment. This is your home. Well, not where I am now, but where you are. It's your home. You control what goes into it. Now, one thing I often hear women with children say, oh, but I have to buy something for little Timmy or Mary. You know, I have to buy them stuff. Why? Are you going to get them addicted to the same food you've been addicted to for 20, 30 years? We don't need to bring that stuff into the home. If it's a problem, if you've got a spouse who does bring that stuff in the home or flatmates or things like that, I'm aware that we can't change those things. But you can ask them nicely, look, I've really got an addiction problem with food. I'm trying to overcome it. Would you mind storing your food somewhere else just so I don't know where it is, so I'm not tempted, blah, blah, blah. That's not asking too much of anybody. But if you're like me and it's your own home and you make the decisions of the food that comes into your house, don't buy the food you have addictions to. It's pretty simple. If it's not in the house, we can't eat it. And if all of a sudden this little craving takes place and you say, oh my goodness, I really feel like Sayo biscuits, say. Don't start thinking, oh my God, Sayo biscuits, gotta have them, I've gotta have them, I've gotta have them. That's a sign of a addiction. You say, you know what? Okay, how can I solve this? I'll make myself something to eat. This is probably one of the main reasons I encourage people to have some form of variety though in their raw vegan diet, especially when you're transitioning. If you're going to go in all gung-ho, if you have got food addictions, you are going to set yourself up to fail. So make sure you find some really awesome raw recipes out there so you enjoy your food, so you're not feeling that deprivation. Dehydrate some food if you have to. Make some raw crackers, make a raw pizza, make a raw burger. I will put some links in there for my raw vegan burger and my raw pizza. There's something you say, you know what, I'm loving this life. So things like that. I think the most important thing for anybody when we're making these changes, especially if you're coming off a sad diet, the most important thing is to train the brain. And until you train your brain, and it's not an easy thing to train your brain. It's taken me years and years and years to train my brain where it is now. And I know that I've got such, I'm so mentally strong that I can do anything that I put my head to. But that hasn't always been the way I've been early doors. It's just been from overcoming things. Hence I call myself an overcomer. So training the brain. Jade, today when you wake up, you are going to have the mindset of a healthy person. That's how I trained myself to be healthy. I told myself every day I was healthy, even when I was unhealthy. I told myself every day that food was no longer going to control me. I control the food. See, because what happens with addiction is we allow the food to control us. But we've got a brain. Food hasn't. We've got to be able to say, I control you. I control what comes in here. And that is something that takes time and practice. You know, I write notes by my bed. Jade, tomorrow is a new day. You are no longer going to have these addictions. You're not going to go, all sorts of things I've written by my bed, and I've read it in the morning. Jade, you are the healthiest person in the world. And I would say this. I would stand in front of a mirror, say, Jade, you are so healthy. And I was looking at myself overweight. And I wasn't healthy then, but I was saying, you are so healthy, because do you know what? What the mind conceives, you can achieve. And if you can see yourself as healthy, if you can see yourself as an overcomer, you will conquer your food addictions. And that's the most important thing. Control what goes in your home. Control your mindset. Slowly wean yourself off the food. Don't go gun-ho. Don't put yourself in this rigid environment. Love yourself and forgive yourself. If you have a day when you stuff up, don't say, you know what, you're a loser, you're the worst person in the world, you'll never achieve anything, blah, blah, blah. Say, you know what, there are 21 meals in a day. One stuff up doesn't make a bad week. And always remember that. We're all human. We all make mistakes. This is how we learn. We move along. We say, you know what? Okay, you're stuffed up, but I'm getting back on that wagon, and I am going to be the best version of me I possibly can. Keep a food diary, which is also, I believe, a really important thing for anybody, especially if you're coming from a sad diet, because it is a big struggle. These are huge, massive changes you're trying to incorporate into your diet. And most importantly, don't compare yourself to anybody else. Always remember, your chapter 1, somebody else may have done 10 or 15 times, just because they're on chapter 30 now. Don't compare yourself. You don't know what someone's gone through to actually get there. Just concentrate on your own journey, run your own race, stay in your own lane, and focus on your own health. These are my tips for fighting food addiction. I hope they help some of you. And if you like this video, give it the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, join my Raw group. It's called Raw Vegan Fruitarians for Life. It's in the description. Most importantly, enjoy your life, laugh often, and love your life. Bye for now.